Joining me now is David Gardner. He is the co-founder of the Motley Fool and author of Rule Breaker Investing. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ashley. I remember last time I rang the bell, I held down the button too long, and one of the NYSE reps said, "David, pull your hand off the button."
Yes. There is. I think in the morning it's 10, and in the afternoon it's 15, or the other way around. But yes, there is science to it. Welcome back.
I was like 23.
Well, that's an exciting thing to do at 23. So what are some of the biggest storylines you're following when it comes to the market?
Well, I think, first of all, obviously the market at all-time highs is the top storyline. And for a lot of people, that sounds scary because we hear things like what goes up must come down. But the truth is, if you look at the history of the market, it keeps making new highs decade by decade over the centuries. This is actually a natural state of things. Of course, the market 1 year and 3, Ashley, gives back gains. But especially at the start of 2025, I was hearing so many people say the market's going to be down this year. It's already high. And I think that, to me, is a top headline.
All right, and earlier this month, chip giant NVIDIA said it would be investing $5 billion into Intel. You say this represents a strategic shift, and why is that?
Well, it makes me think back when Apple was in trouble. The year was 1997. History will recall that Microsoft made a very substantial investment in Apple, and in a lot of ways, the rest is history. Apple went on to become even bigger than Microsoft. I'm not saying that's going to be the case here with Intel and NVIDIA, but I think the main takeaway is that both companies, Apple and Microsoft, won from that point going forward. So to me, this is a great move, strategic by NVIDIA, helpful for Intel. And if you look at things from an American's business standpoint, many of us watching me today are Americans, I think this is a great kind of development, because what it means is strategically the U.S. is keeping its top assets lined up and in place onshore, strengthening the U.S. So I really like the move.
All right, and big tech has been dominating the headlines over the past couple of weeks. What should investors be mindful of when approaching this sector?
Well, I think, first of all, recognize that in every industry there is an innovator. And that's my style. That's rule breaker investing. I'm looking for the companies that come along, the Davids, that come along and break Goliath's rules. And so we are living in a time of incredible technology gain. It started with the internet 30 years ago when we started the Motley Fool. Obviously, artificial intelligence is that kind of plate tectonic shift today. But I would always guide every individual investor, which is what I am, to be asking who is the innovator in this industry. And it's not just big tech. For example, Old Dominion Freight Line is the innovator in the trucking industry. It's been a fantastic long-term hold for investors. So I'm always looking for the rule breakers, the stocked pond of America's best.
And I understand that you use, quote, the COLA test to find long-term winners in the market. Can you walk us through that?
I love it. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah. So Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead had a great line. He said, "We were never trying to be the best at what we do. We were trying to be the only ones doing what we are doing." Back in the day, the Grateful Dead was like, "Hey, bootleg our concerts. We're good with that. You know, tape it. Nobody else will let you do that, but you can do that." So they understood open source at an early stage. So what I like to do is I like to ask, who are the companies that aren't trying to be just the best at what they do? They're trying to be the only ones doing what they're doing. And the reason I use cola is because I always think about Coca-Cola. And I ask myself, if a company like Intuitive Surgical in the surgical industry, if they're the Coca-Cola, who is the Pepsi? And if you can't find a real analog, a Pepsi, in any industry, then to me, that company passes my cola test. They're very hard to compete with. They have blue ocean ahead of them, as Intuitive Surgical, for example, does, or Axon Enterprise in law enforcement. So for me, I'm always looking for the companies that you can't find, like who is the Pepsi to Amazon? It's really still unclear whether there ever has been, and that's been really the best stock you could have held over the last generation. So Ashley, that is the cola test.
And David, we have about 45 seconds. Longer term, what do you believe the most successful companies of the future are going to look like?
I think that they're going to be adapting and evolving and transformative. And so for me, what you really want to do these days, if you want to have the brightest people come to work for your company, You want to stand for something. You want to be a purpose-driven company. The phrase I love is conscious capitalism, where I served on the board for 8 years. But these are companies that are basically the ones that people, this new generation, wants to work for. They want to feel a sense of purpose, that they're doing something that helps the earth and the world. And those are the kinds of conscious capitalism companies that I would continue to favor as a long-term stock picker and a beloved investor in love with the NYSE and our markets, which are a small miracle we should never take for granted every day.
Awesome. Thank you, David Gardner, co-founder of the Motley Fool and author of Rule Breaker Investing.
Thanks, Ashley. Fool on.